We bring you the front page as we get started every day here on this broadcast. The front page is a digest of news that happened while we were asleep. And there is an interesting piece of news regarding Donald Trump, new charges against him. Also, Carlos de Oliveira, who was the engineer for Mar-a-Lago, have been charged in a classified documents case. This from USA Today. Special counsel Jack Smith leveled new charges against the former president on yesterday, including an allegation that he sought to delete surveillance video, and indicted Trump, a second Trump aide, for obstruction of justice and the hoarding of classified documents. The use of the word hoarding is bias. We point that out here on the Wells Report. This from USA Today. So that's US Today, anti-Trump bias. Carlos de Oliveira, an employee of the Trump Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, is accused of lying about helping indicted aide Walt Nauta hide subpoenaed boxes of classified information around Trump's home. This according to a superseding indictment filed in the Florida-based case. The revised indictment said Trump and others sought to erase security video of rooms in which the boxes were kept. It said they tried to get another unnamed person to delete security camera footage at the Mar-a-Lago club to prevent the footage from being provided to a federal grand jury. Hunter Biden's full plea deal tried to hide a clause giving him blanket immunity. This from the London Daily Mail. Prosecutors tried to hide a blanket immunity clause for Hunter Biden in a crazy and unprecedented tactic, says the Daily Mail. Again, bias. But were exposed by the judge during the 3-hour hearing with the president's son and his lawyers in her Wilmington, Delaware courtroom yesterday. That would be Tuesday. That according to a former government lawyer. Ex-assistant U.S. Attorney Will Scharf slammed prosecutors and the Hunter legal team, led by Chris Clark, for allegedly trying to fool U.S. District Judge Maryellen Noreika into approving the generous and unorthodox plea deal without proper scrutiny. That in a fiery interview with the London Daily Mail. Ex-assistant U.S. Attorney Will Scharf, a former Trump administration official who was running for Attorney General of Missouri, claimed the proposed deal was, quote, spitting in the face of justice. This from USA Today. The Biden DOJ is seeking to clean up bad police departments around the nation. The list of U.S. big city police departments currently under federal scrutiny seems to keep growing. Chicago, Minneapolis, Louisville, Seattle, and Phoenix. Now comes Memphis, where the Department of Justice announced a civil rights investigation yesterday into the city and its police force over alleged systemic use of excessive force and discrimination. The probe comes 7 months after the beating death of Tyree Nichols by Memphis police officers following a traffic stop. This in a case that sparked national outcry and calls for police reform. Lori Levinson, a professor at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles and a former federal prosecutor, said, quote, the police cannot police themselves. Chuck Wexler, executive director of the Police Executive Research Forum, a Washington-based police research group, said a DOJ investigation is not something that they take lightly. The DOJ opens between 10 and 20 cases annually among 18,000 police departments nationwide. A Republican senator decided to excoriate aides who were snoozing in the Capitol Rotunda. Representative Derek Van Orden is in hot water after he cursed out a group of teenage Senate pages in the Capitol Rotunda yesterday morning, according to a transcript written by a page minutes after the incident and obtained by The Hill, who provided this story. Van Orden called the pages jackasses and pieces of S and told them he didn't give an F who you were. The pages are a group of 16 to 17-year-olds who assist Senate operations. And when the Senate works late, as it did Wednesday night on the National Defense Authorization Act amendments, pages generally rest nearby in the Capitol Rotunda. The quote continues, wake up, wake the F up, you little S's. What the F are you all doing? Get the F out of here. You are defiling the space, you pieces of S, said Van Orden. This according to an account provided by the page. Who the F are you, Van Orden asked, to which one person said they were Senate pages. I don't give an F who you are, get out. The incident, which occurred after midnight, outraged members of the Senate, with one calling the string of remarks horrible. In state news today, the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, has signed a bill that has many people very concerned about what is going on. Actually, there are two bills. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed 2 bills banning conversion therapy for minors who identify as homosexual or transgender, possibly turning healthcare providers and parents who do not accept their children being born in the wrong body, so to speak, as perhaps becoming criminals. That's what the bill says, according to the report from the National Pulse. House Bill 4716, make that 4617, defines conversion therapy as, quote, any practice or treatment by a mental health professional that seeks to change an individual's sex orientation or gender identity, including but not limited to efforts to change behavior or gender expression or to reduce or eliminate romantic attractions or feelings toward an individual of the same gender. The language suggests that clinicians and possibly parents who refuse to affirm so-called trans kids by dressing boys as girls and using female pronouns for them, and vice versa, would be accused of unlawful activity. Out of Florida, the College Board rejected claims yesterday by Florida officials that some aspects of the state's new history standards align with the ACT's Advanced Placement African American Studies program that Florida officials banned earlier this year. Florida State's Board of Education approved new African American history standards last week that have been widely criticized for including language on, quote, how slaves developed skills that could ultimately be used for their personal benefit. In defending the new state-created standards, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and other state officials have argued the College Board used similar language in its framework for its advanced placement course. Here is what that passage says. In addition to agricultural work, enslaved people learned specialized trades and worked as painters, carpenters, tailors, musicians, and healers in the North and South. Once free, African Americans used these skills to provide for themselves and others. Alex Lanfranconi, the communications director for the Florida Department of Education, made a similar argument on a social media site. The AP course, supported by the NAACP, teachers' unions, and the White House, includes nearly identical language about skills learned by slaves. Something tells me the conspiracy theory about Florida's new African American history standards is about to go away. Also in Florida, in the latest salvo of a legal battle that's been going on since April, when Disney filed a countersuit against the governor in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Florida, apparently DeSantis had asked for immunity in a lawsuit he filed for himself. DeSantis attorneys asked a federal judge for immunity from the case, which would drop the suit and free him from any further legal action, liability, or punishment. The broader battle began a year before when Disney spoke out against the Parental Rights in Education Act, which was dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill by critics, which restricted instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in schools. Disney rejected Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' immunity request from their legal feud on Wednesday, with the media conglomerate criticizing the governor and presidential candidate for evading responsibility. The governor seeks to evade responsibilities for his actions on a narrower ground, asserting that the governor cannot be held officially liable for implementing, administering, and enforcing state laws that punish residents for political statements violating a state-prescribed speech code, the company attorneys wrote in a legal filing on Wednesday. This from the Centers for Disease Control, reported by USA Today. As many as 450,000 people in the U.S. may have been affected by an alpha-gal syndrome, AGS, according to the CDC. AGS, also known as red meat allergy or tick bite meat allergy, is emerging and potentially life-threatening. It's an allergic condition that has mostly gone undiagnosed. More than 110,000 suspected cases of alpha-gal syndrome were identified between 2010 and 2022, according to the CDC. Adding the diagnosis of alpha-gal syndrome requires a positive diagnostic test and a clinical exam. Many individuals with alpha-gal may not get tested and could never know that their meat allergy was actually the cause of a tick bite. Speaking of bugs, CBS News is reporting that Trader Joe's is recalling nearly 11,000 cases of the grocery chain's branded soup products because they contain bugs. This, according to the Food and Drug Administration. The agency said in a recall notice that Trader Joe's unexpected broccoli cheddar soup has insects in the frozen broccoli florets. The soup is being voluntarily recalled by the manufacturer, Winter Gardens Quality Foods of New Oxford, Pennsylvania, according to the FDA. The recall affects 10,889 cases of the 20-ounce soup sold at Trader Joe's stores in 7 states, including California, Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Washington. The soup sells for $4.99 a container, according to the Trader Joe's website. Trader Joe's not available for comment. Chick-fil-A is also in food news today. They announced that they will develop 2 new restaurant concepts in the Atlanta metropolitan area and New York City. The quick service restaurant company will test an elevated drive-through concept. The concepts scheduled to open in 2024 include a walk-up service and are designed to improve the drive-through and mobile ordering experience for customers of the chicken sandwich chain. Digital orders make up more than half of the total sales in some markets and growing, so we know our customers have an appetite for convenience, said Kalila Cooper, a Chick-fil-A executive director of restaurant design. The drive-through concept will be built in the Atlanta area, will have 4 lanes that pass under the kitchen and can handle 75 cars. The restaurant will have a larger kitchen space and food transportation system that moves the order from the kitchen to an employee that will deliver the meal to the car. Customers who utilize the Chick-fil-A app will have their orders sent to the kitchen as soon as they enter one of 2 designed or designated mobile order lanes to ensure they receive their order fresh from the kitchen. Customers will be able to order at that location as well. In sports today, hours after the club quashed any rumors of making a trade, Shohei Ohtani performed like a man inspired to lead the Los Angeles Angels on a playoff run. Ohtani, the greatest two-way star in the game's history and a pending free agent, pitched his first career shutout, a one-hit domination of the Detroit Tigers as the Angels won the first game of a doubleheader 6-0 at Comerica Park. It was also his first career complete game. Then, in the second game, he hit 2 home runs, his major league leading 37th and 38th of the season, in an 11-4 Angels victory.